Hello, hello, and welcome along. So, a fabulous topic we're going to be discussing today is around following your bliss. And much more importantly, well, probably not more importantly, but just as importantly, in terms of following your bliss, is what happens when that can actually become a bit of a trap. And the strange phrase that also comes along with it about following your bliss tours. So perhaps we can call this discussion following your bliss and the shadow side of following your bliss, something along those lines. So, of course, you've heard of the wonderful term that came from Joseph Campbell. And I thought I'd share with you first a little bit of background on the term. So it first popped up in an interview he did with Bill Moyers, which became a really famous series. And he was asked the question, do you ever have a sense of being helped by hidden hands? And Joseph Campbell said to that, all the time. It is miraculous. I even have a superstition that has grown on me as a result of invisible hands coming all the time. Namely, that if you do follow your bliss, you put yourself on a kind of track that has been there all the while, waiting for you. And the life that you ought to be living is the one you are living. When you can see that, you begin to meet people who are in your field of bliss, and they open doors to you. I say, follow your bliss and don't be afraid, and doors will open where you didn't know they were going to be. Now, of course, that is such a wonderful phrase and paragraph that is shared about so much because it gives us amazing keys to having revealed to us what is already present, right? What we can align with in our own lives and what we can simply follow as our own unique path once it is there. And so this is what he was touching upon when he said to follow that, right? That thing which is already present. And so what happens when we dig a layer deeper into understanding, well, then what is bliss, right? If you start to understand, okay, there's this thing, bliss, right? Follow my bliss. Okay, sounds great. How do I do that? What is it? And then we actually start the exploration of what that might be. We naturally come up against the question about, well, then what is bliss, right? How do I know it? How do I identify it? And what exactly is he talking about there? And so I want to share again a direct quote from Campbell where he explains what he means when he is talking about bliss. So he actually says, now I came to this idea of bliss because in Sanskrit, so that's an ancient Indian channeled language, in Sanskrit, which is the great spiritual language of the world, there are three terms that represent the brink, the jumping off place to the ocean of transcendence. Sat, Chit, Ananda. The word Sat means being. Chit means consciousness, and Ananda means bliss or rapture. Sat, Chit, Ananda. I thought, this is still Campbell, I don't know whether my consciousness is proper consciousness or not. I don't know whether what I know of my being is proper being or not, but I do know where my rapture is. So let me hang on to rapture, and that will bring me both my consciousness and my being. I think it worked. And so isn't that fascinating? For Campbell, out of Sat Chit Ananda, a three-part process, a three-part doorway into transcendence, the jumping off point as he talks about. He wasn't sure about two of those, but for him, one he was sure of, which is the bliss, right? And so from there, he understood that for him, that path that works is to follow my bliss, right? And so that is advice that he gave to his students as part of his teaching. And we, the people, love it because this term has persisted, right? Follow your bliss, to follow my bliss. And so it's beautiful. And I say, you know, in my own life and my own experience, I've certainly jumped into the follow my bliss path to understand when I do that more and more, what happens, what is unearthed, what is unveiled, and what is the next step, right? Because it's wonderful to have something to give us guidance, something in our pathway. And so in this case, being bliss, right? Something to lean into. It's like the golden breadcrumbs that can show us the next way and can show us the next way. And we lean into it a little bit more and something else opens up and we become more aware of something different. And then off it goes again, right? And so the pathway is created. And so I'd love to know, how has that been for you in terms of following your bliss? Is that a practice that you have been doing, and what have you discovered along the way? And have you come across moments where that has actually been rather challenging? So I certainly found, and in working with people who have deeply committed to following their bliss as well, I've seen this. This has been encountered within the coaching context again and again, some of the challenges that can come up around it, and when following your bliss can actually become a trap. And so one of those important times is when we follow our bliss, and some people, in the spirit world these days would call it like love and light, for example. Following that bliss, following that thing, which is not a problem, but can become a trap when we do that to the degree of filtering out things that are important to pay attention to, and kind of, carrying on with horse blinker lights and not attending to important pieces that don't feel so blissful, that are not so love light, that aren't so wonderful and don't feel in alignment with our bliss, but they are present nonetheless. Now, sometimes those pieces are, not so important to the conversation, and maybe they can be put aside. But when they are important, and when they are things that we need to attend to, pay attention to, otherwise they will fester and grow and pop up again at another point in the road, maybe as a bigger and uglier manifestation. Those things are really important to pay attention to, right? And so we must, right? If we do not, we wind up in the trap of spiritually bypassing, because we're on this spiritual trajectory, which is what the Ananda path is, the bliss-filled path is. It is a spiritual experience and commitment to walk that road. And to shut things out along the way will have a cost, when those are things that actually, should be front and center. Yes. And it's not that they're going to veer us off our track, right? It's not that we have to become sidetracked by these things that are, annoying or don't feel right, or just, we don't want to engage with, or are deeply unpleasant. It's that becomes part of the picture as well. These are the growth moments, right? So we can follow our bliss, and we have to also be aware, right? There are other pieces in that triad of the sat and the chit, right? In terms of the consciousness and the beingness. There are parts of the neutral beingness that can have an awareness of the other pieces that are coming forward, right? So Ananda can lead us on that pathway, can lead us in a direction and show us those breadcrumbs. And when we encounter moments that need to be addressed, they need to be addressed, right? We become present to what is unfolding. And as we do that, we grow, we stretch, we evolve, and then we carry on as well. So these are moments when they can become a trap, right? When we are not mindful and aware to and attending to the other pieces that come up. So it doesn't mean don't follow your bliss. By all means, follow your bliss. What a beautiful way to be in the world. And pay attention and be mindful to the other pieces that come up. Other times when it can be a trap, there is also, this falls into the similar line that we've been discussing about not paying attention to things. But when we become so single-pointed and mindfully obsessed on a particular pathway, we can be blind to certain other aspects, right? So again, there might be the situations that we're talking about, but it might also be relationships and people, right? And we might fall out of line with relationships out of harmony or create disruption in certain relationships if once again we are in pursuit of one particular way of being and somebody that we love or care about or someone in our vicinity is not in line with that. And if so, you will then naturally encounter that moment of what now happens. Do I travel together with this person, or do I, because I want to be on this track and this pathway, single-mindedly, single-pointedly, am I eliminating that person from my sphere, right? And so we don't have to be so anal about it, really. We don't have to be so rigid on the pathway. There can be flexing that can happen because they are, once again, they are breadcrumbs. They lead the way. The bliss is a pathway that we can walk with and walk into, but we don't have to ignore the other aspects. As always, let me know how this lands. I love hearing from you. I love hearing your stories and experiences and the challenges along the way. In conversation, we grow. Much love to you. Be well and follow your bliss always, except for those times that we mentioned.